Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. All right, we are continuing our discussion of Purim. Today's topic, briefly, we'll discuss how Purim actually became a holiday. How did it become kavua in our calendar? So, the Halacha writes as follows: Av she'asimcha al ha'hatzalah hayta atzuma. Even though the simcha, the happiness out of the salvation was so great, mitchila lo haya barur ketz tzarich letzayen zot. They didn't know how to actually mark this occasion. Shalcha lahem Esther lechachamim. Esther HaMalka sent a message to the chachamim. Kitvuni ledorot. Please write for me for generations. Sheichtevu et maaseh Purim vichlalu b'kitvei hakodesh betanach. I want you to write down the story of Purim and include it in the actual writings of Tanakh. Ve'od biksha Esther mechachamim. The Esther HaMalka then asked the chachamim, Kivaoni ledorot. I want you to establish it for generations. Sheikpeu et Yom HaPurim keyom simcha umikra Megillah ledorot. I want it to be a holiday. I wanted to have us read the Megillah for generations. But chila hitlabtu chachamim bazeh. The rabbis were unsure what to do. Hen mitzad she'adavar alu le'ored kina mitzad umot ha'olam shiru she'Yisrael smechim b'mapalatam. On one hand, you're basically saying, yay, look, we defeated the non-Jews. And how the nations of the world are going to think that we're celebrating another holiday that we knocked them out. And the second thing they were concerned about is whether or not they have the authority to yet again include something in Tanakh that about Bnei Israel defeating Amalek. Was it up to them at this point? Sheyesh makom lichtov shuva milchama b'Amalek. They came to a conclusion that indeed they were allowed to write again about the war of Amalek or defeating Amalek. Vekatvu anshe knesset hagdola et Megillat Esther beruach hakodesh. They wrote Megillat Esther beruach hakodesh vekavu et Purim ledorot, and they established Purim for generations. Anshe knesset hagdola hem bet hadin hagadol shaya bereshit tekufat bet hamikdash hasheni. The men of the Great Assembly, Anshe Knesset Agdolah, was a great Bedin that were seated in power at the beginning of the second Bet HaMikdash, around that time. And there were 120 members of this Bedin. Ubenehem, and part of that crew, Nevi'im HaChachamim. There were prophets and there were very wise men. Umehem, some of them you might know: Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Ezra Sofer, Nehemiah ben Chachaliah, Mordechai, Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel. Mordechai Yehudi. Mordechai that we mentioned is Mordechai Yehudi, who was one of the members of the Anshe Knesset Agdolah. Ezra Sofer haya chashuv shebahem. The most important of these members, the most prominent, was Ezra Sofer. So much so that sometimes we don't refer to this group as Anshe Knesset Agdolah. We just call them the Bet Din of Ezra, because that's how important he was. They were the ones that founded these early takanot, that we consider, that we call the mitzvot of the chachamim. And from their strength and from their efforts, we're able to draw out the Chachamim of the Torah Shebe'al Peh, because after that, that's basically the start of Torah Shebe'al Peh. Nes Purim nechshav lenes ha'acharon shenitan leikatev betanach. The miracle Purim is considered to be the last of the miracles that was included in Tanakh. Ukvi she'amnu Chazal, Esther sof kol hanisim. The Gemara Masechet Yoma says Esther was the end of the miracles. Ubiktivat Megillat Esther nechtam lemaaseh haTanakh, and therefore, with the writing of Megillat Esther, that sealed the work of the Bible. Purim hu hachulya hamekasheret sheben haTorah shebichtav leTorah shebe'al peh. Like we mentioned, the story of Purim is that link that connects the written Torah and the oral Torah. וכך אכן מעמדן של מצוות הפורים הן מדברי קבלה שהוא מעמד ביניים בין מצווה מהתורה שבכתב למצווה מדברי חכמים. And so too when we're celebrating the holiday of Purim and we look at the mitzvot, okay, you have this kind of conflict between whether or not the mitzvot of Torah mitzvot מדברי חכמים. מצד אחד אינם במעלת המצוות שכתובות בחמישה חומשי תורה. On one hand, it's not written in the 5 books of Torah. It doesn't say to read the Megillah in anywhere in Chumash. It doesn't say to give matanot laevyonim in Chumash. ומצד שני, אינן כמעמד מצוות מדברי חכמים. On the other hand, maybe you can consider it as דברי חכמים, שכן מגילת אסתר נכללת בכתובים. Because Megillat Esther is found in Tanakh. So what is it? How do we classify these mitzvot? ונחלקו הראשונים מה הדין במצב שספק בדיני פורים, האם ההלכה להחמיר כדין מצווה מהתורה, או שההלכה להקל כדין מצווה מדברי חכמים. And the Rishonim argue, when it comes to a safek, I'm not sure if I did this mitzvah on Purim. How do I treat it? If I look at the mitzvot of Purim as something deoraita, from the Torah, that means I have to treat it strictly, and that means I gotta do the mitzvah again, because I need to make sure that I fulfill the mitzvah deoraita. If I look at it as a mitzvah derabanan, from the Chachamim, then I act leniently, and I say, okay, said there. I don't, if I have a doubt, I'm not sure if I did it, for whatever reason, not sure if I fulfilled it, we could say that it's okay. Sheva mitzvot yeshnan bepurim. There are 7 mitzvot in that are attributed to Purim. Mitochan arba miyuchadot lePurim. 4 of them are very, very particular to Purim. Kriyat Megillah, Mishloach Manot, Ish Lerehu, Matanot La'avyonim, and Mishteh V'Simcha. Those are the 4 that are particular to Purim. Ve'od 3 mitzvot midivrei chachamim, and there are another 3 that are also from the rabbis, but they're not particular to Purim. Shekemotan yesh gam b'yamim tovim acharim. We have these mitzvot in other holidays, such as Aleph, number 1 is Kiryat Torah. We take out the Sefer Torah to read on Purim. Bet is Hazkarat Hayom Ba'minat Ala Nisim, which is the mentioning of Ala Nisim in the Tfilah and Birkat HaMazon. And Gimel, the 3rd, is Isur Hesped V'Ta'anit. That a person is not allowed to eulogize or to fast on Purim. The only exception that is brought down with regards to, in the Ramah is brought down, Chutz Mitanit Chalom. Okay, if the person declared a fast Tanit Chalom, but I guess there's a lot of Achronim who disagree with the Ramah on that one, because you want to have your Seudah. But nevertheless, the Ramah does write that in that situation, you might be allowed to fast on Purim. But other than that, there's no fasting and there's no eulogizing, and those are the 7 mitzvot that are attributed or found in the holiday of Purim. And with that, we will end and continue B'ezras Hashem tomorrow.